Oh, hey, hi. I'm just having a piece of chocolate here. This is really good. Pardon me. I can't go a day without my chocolate. And that's actually what I wanted to talk to you all about today. Hi, everybody. I'm Ricky Heller. I'm a chocolate lover. I would even say a chocoholic. And my topic today, it's actually the day before Valentine's Day today. And so I thought this would be a great topic to talk about because everybody's thinking about chocolate. And in fact, I got a email from one of my readers who asked me about some of the news that came out actually a year ago in 2015, just around Valentine's Day, saying that chocolate is actually not good for you. So I thought, well, this would be a great time to look more into that because I do eat chocolate, I'd say several times a week, and I want to be sure that I'm not in trouble in doing so. So I wanted to first discuss some of the negatives that have come out in the news and through research, and then look at the positives and see if we can weigh and measure. And as with any scientific studies or food studies that come out, we need to decide for ourselves based on the evidence, is this something you want to pursue? Do we believe them? Do we not believe them? How much do we want to take this to heart? So some of the first thing that I'm going to address is this big issue that came out last year, which is a study that found high levels of lead and cadmium, heavy metals, both very toxic, in chocolate. So this was a study, I think, of about 26 different brands of chocolate, and they found levels far above the approved levels of lead. Now, lead is a known neurotoxin. It can cause all kinds of digestive problems, and certainly extremely dangerous for young people, little kids, if they have high levels of lead. And cadmium as well, it's a known carcinogen, really a dangerous substance to have in high levels in your blood. So what can we do about that? Well, the first thing to note is that it wasn't all the brands of chocolate. So apparently the chocolates that were high in these toxic metals were the ones grown in certain regions of the world where they use lead gas and certain pesticides. So what you want to do is ensure that you're not buying chocolate from those areas. And while I don't know all of the areas, I'm going to actually link this study below and the list of chocolates. If you're watching this on my blog, rickyheller.com, it will be just under here. Or if you're watching me on YouTube, I'll put it under the video as well. And the only country that was named outright was Nigeria, but there may be other countries that also use some of these lead gases. So that's something to watch out for, certain pesticides that can also cause those kind of reactions. But what can you do? Because according to the experts, lead and cadmium and other heavy metals are naturally within the earth, and the cacao beans tend to absorb these toxins, as do many other foods. So we're always getting little tiny bits of lead, cadmium, whatever other arsenic kinds of toxins that are in the earth and in the air that we breathe and in the water that we drink and so on. And it's a cumulative thing, so it would get worse over time. So what you want to try to do is be detoxing these things out of your body as much as you can so those levels don't reach critical mass. And I think whether you eat chocolate or not, it's just a good idea to detox on a regular basis to draw these toxins out of the body. So what can you do? Well, with lead, some of the things that you can do, there are certain foods that can act as heavy metal chelators, which just means they latch onto the heavy metals and draw them out of the body, and certain substances that you wouldn't consider food, but that are ingestible, that you can eat, that will also act as detoxifiers and chelators. So the first one that I try to eat every day is cilantro, fresh cilantro, which is also called fresh coriander in some parts of the world. And it's the green leaves. You want to eat them raw and start with about a tablespoon. And then I've worked up to about 1/4 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup per day. Now, you don't have to do that all the time. You can do that in rotation. So maybe for 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or 3 weeks on, 1 week off, however you want to do it. It's not going to hurt you if you eat it all the time. But this draws out heavy metals, primarily mercury, but also other heavy metals. It's known to help chelate or grab onto and draw out the heavy metals with elimination. The other food, and it's actually a sea algae, is called Chlorella. And as it turns out, I just recently discovered that I am allergic to Chlorella. That was one of my test results. So I don't eat that anymore. But Chlorella is a really nice broad spectrum heavy metal chelator. So it will remove heavy metals from the body as well. You can buy it in a powdered form, or you can buy it in tablets. And it's not the tastiest thing in the powder form, but if you put it in a smoothie or a green juice or something, you probably won't notice it. And it works really well as well. Then if you want to go beyond food, a couple of substances that that I've read about and would recommend is activated charcoal, which one can consume. And again, that charcoal is like a filter. It helps to draw out the toxins from the body. And bentonite clay, you make sure that you get both of these, that they're food grade, that you can, it's a clay that you mix with water and drink, and it absorbs these toxins in the digestive tract and pulls them out with your elimination or your bowel movements, so that it clears through the colon that way. And I have taken bentonite clay on my 10-day detox and beyond. I did another video about my 10-day metagenics detox, and that was one of the things that I was using concurrently. It works really well. I had some great results with that too. So I actually think that's something you should be doing on a regular basis, just given the world we live in and how toxic the air is, and most places are not pristine in terms of the environment. So it's not going to hurt you to do that. But if you're concerned about the lead, that's a really good thing to do. For cadmium, what you can also do is eat foods that interfere with cadmium absorption in the digestive tract. So cadmium is not absorbed that easily. And if you eat foods with calcium, with iron, with zinc, they are going to interfere with the cadmium absorption, and then you don't need to be too concerned. Well, you might get a little, but you get a lot less of your cadmium. So those minerals are all available in foods like blackstrap molasses, beans and legumes, dark leafy greens. So you want to eat a lot of those and to try to keep those cadmium levels from getting too high. So those are some things that you can do in terms of those heavy metals. And also just be careful in terms of the particular brands of chocolate that you're going to buy. Buy the safer ones. Be sure that it's organic, and keep it moderate. So experts recommend an ounce a day, which is 28 grams, which is not a big piece. I'm going to actually share with you the kind of chocolate that I eat in a minute. So that's the first thing. The second problem is oxalates that you'll hear about a lot. So oxalates are compounds that can interfere with digestion because people are not able to digest foods with oxalates very effectively. And so it's postulated that they can cause leaky gut syndrome, and that if you eat a lot of oxalates, therefore oxalic acid is excreted in the urine. And if somebody is prone to kidney stones, that can cause kidney stones. So you know, if you have kidney issues or you've ever had kidney stones, you might be told to eat a low oxalate diet. The other thing I've read a lot is people who are opposed to green smoothies, which are smoothies made with dark leafy greens. And the argument goes that if you eat a green every day with those dark leafy greens, because dark leafy greens are also high in oxalates, just like chocolate or cacao, then you're going to have all kinds of digestive issues. So what I do, I'm not prone to kidney stones, but I rotate my leafy greens. So I'm not getting the same oxalates, or the exact same amount of oxalates from the same foods every day. And I do not have a green smoothie every single day. I tend to have them once, maybe twice a week, but I do eat leafy greens a lot. You can cook them, it helps a little bit too. So in terms of the oxalates, there are things that you can do as well. And if you don't have an issue with kidney stones, it's not a huge problem for you. Then there are the sort of common problems that we know about chocolate, which are that it's bad for migraine sufferers. And it's also, of course, if you have pets, you don't want to be feeding them chocolate. We have 2 dogs in our house, and so it's strictly a no chocolate zone where the dogs are concerned. What I do for my dogs is I feed them unsweetened carob chips because it looks like chocolate, and I just call it chocolate when I feed it to them because they don't know the difference. They're dogs. So just don't even bring the chocolate near the dogs. It can be really deadly to dogs because of the theobromine in it, which is a stimulant that the dogs cannot digest and can cause huge problems. So those are the major negatives that I've come across with chocolate. Now I want to look at some of the positives. And this one actually I've read as a negative, but I think of it as a positive. So when you eat chocolate, it triggers serotonin production in the brain. And what that means is serotonin is one of the feel-good chemicals that's also triggered often with certain addictions. So the argument against chocolate is that it's addictive because it triggers serotonin, which makes you want more. It's high fat, it's high sugar, both of which are addictive or can be addictive substances or act like addictive substances. So, but to my mind, I mean, is there really a huge problem with eating something that makes you feel good? And is chocolate really an addictive substance like a drug? Is chocolate as bad as heroin or cocaine? I don't think so. Has anybody ever OD'd on chocolate? I mean, my roommate and I in university tried pretty hard, but we're both still here. So it's not a deadly substance, and you're not going to die from eating chocolate in one sitting. That said, most of the negatives that are related to that addictive quality, the sugar, the fat, are connected to highly processed, manufactured chocolate bars that do have added sugar and added unhealthy fats. But if you eat raw chocolate, which is raw cacao powder, cacao paste, cacao nibs, cacao beans, those are the raw whole food chocolate products. Those don't have added fat and added sugar. And in fact, one of the positives for chocolate is the fat in it, because the naturally occurring fats in chocolate are about 50% what's called stearic acid, which actually lowers your bad cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol or the bad cholesterol, and increases the HDL or the good cholesterol. And it also contains a monounsaturated fat called oleic acid, which we know is good for the heart as well. So basically, chocolate is a very healthful food for the cardiovascular system. And there was actually a study done at at University of Nottingham, I think, University of Nottingham, where they looked at the effects of chocolate on circulation to the brain. And in fact, it's great for circulation all over. It's been shown to soften the blood vessels, good for heart, to prevent heart disease, to prevent stroke, but it also increased circulation to the brain and is considered now possibly a food to help prevent Alzheimer's disease. So that's, to me, a real positive, especially at my age. I want anything that's going to help improve my memory. Thank you very much. Then we have the other positive functions of chocolate because of the flavonols in chocolate. So flavonols are substances that act like antioxidants and can help prevent various cancers and chronic diseases. And a study at Georgetown University, the one at Georgetown, is the one that looked at chocolate and breast cancer. And they found that the flavonols in chocolate can help prevent breast cancer. So lots of good effects of chocolate and lots of good side effects and health benefits of chocolate. So what's the best chocolate to eat? Well, I'm going to show you some of my favorites here. This is raw cacao powder, and it just basically looks like cocoa powder, except it's slightly lighter in color. And the difference between raw cacao and cocoa has been heated, cocoa has been processed, cocoa has had substances removed from it. Raw cacao is just the cocoa beans raw that have been ground into a powder. So you get all of the health benefits, all of those beautiful minerals, all of those flavonols, all the things that I was just mentioning are still all there. And I personally find, for my palate anyway, that raw cacao is not as bitter as cocoa powder if you go and buy packaged cocoa in the supermarket. So these things can all be bought at a health food store, and the brand I'm using is Organic Traditions, but there are lots of really good brands. Navitas Naturals is another one. I think Organic Traditions is primarily here in Canada, so you may want to look for another raw cacao, and it should be organic, obviously. So here we have cacao paste, which used to look like sort of like this, like rock salt, except little pebbles and little rocks. But now what they've done is they've pressed it so that it looks like regular squares of unsweetened chocolate. And this is pure cacao beans, cacao nibs that have just been pressed into shape. So it's the same thing. It's got all the healthy fats still in there, no sugar or sweeteners added at all, no stabilizers, nothing. It's just the raw cacao, and it will melt if you melt it really gently. And it's great for baking. It's great for cooking, whatever you want to do. It's great for eating. And as I said, it's not bitter because it's not sweetened, but it just doesn't have that same bitter zing that I experience when I've tried to eat, say, unsweetened baking chocolate. This is a whole food, and it's got all those wonderful health benefits. If you're going to buy packaged chocolate that's not raw like this, you could look for raw chocolate bars that are sweetened with things like coconut sugar or stevia, coconut nectar sometimes. Some of them are sweetened with yacon or agave syrup. Those are still way better than the chocolate bars that you're going to buy in the regular store. Or you could do what I do, which is make my own. I use raw cacao powder, and I buy cocoa butter or even coconut oil, works really well, and just mix it together with a sweetener. I usually use stevia, and that is going to make the most delicious chocolate, which is what I was eating when I first said, hello, I've got some toasted coconut mixed into these. So if you're looking for a recipe for a really nice raw chocolate like that you can make at home, I do have a few on my blog. I'm going to link them up for you down below so that you can get a taste of what homemade chocolate tastes like. And it's just a perfect way to enjoy the health benefits of cacao every day in moderation. So if you're going to buy the package, go for at least 70% cacao content, which means no more than 30% is going to be left over for additives and sugar and added fats. But if you can even go higher, 85%, 90%, even the 100%, it's just as delicious. You can just add a little bit of your own sweetener if you need to. So I hope that was useful. And if you like this video, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. You can find some more resources below. I'm going to add these below, reference to all of the different things that I talked about. But if you like the video, if you found this useful, please subscribe to my channel. Or if you know somebody who might benefit from this information, share it with them, tell them about it, and then go off and enjoy some delicious chocolate. And if you're celebrating, have a really happy Valentine's Day, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.